Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, 1993 to 1998, was more than just a TV drama. It was a groundbreaking series that captured hearts with its powerful storytelling, strong performances, and timeless themes of courage, family, and hope. Jane Seymour's iconic role as Dr. Michaela Quinn, along with a talented cast, made the show an unforgettable part of 90s television. But while the series continues to live on in reruns and in the memories of fans, many of the beloved actors who brought the frontier town of Colorado Springs to life have sadly passed away. In this video, we honor those stars, remembering their careers, their impact, and the legacies they left behind. Orson Bean was 65 when he stepped into the recurring role of Lauren Bray on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, in 1993, playing a crotchety small-town shopkeeper whose sour exterior softened in the face of moral dilemmas. On screen, he was a chastening presence with comic timing that could cut through sentimentality, yet that easy affability concealed a life shaped by trauma, radical experimentation, and relentless reinvention. Born Dallas Frederick Burroughs on July 22, 1928, in Burlington, Vermont, the son of Marion Ainsworth Pollard and George Frederick Burroughs. He was raised in a politically engaged household. His father helped found the ACLU, but left home at 16 after his mother's suicide. An event that cleaved his life into before and after, and sent him searching for identity through the Army theater and late-night television. The wrenching loss and early independence left him hungry for belonging, and, at times extraordinarily reckless, he moved his young family to Australia in the 1970s, experimented with controversial therapies and alternate sexual communities, and wrote candidly about those years, choices that alternately liberated and alienated him. Professionally, he survived blacklists and career stalls, but reinvention became his signature panelist, game show staple, Broadway player, character actor. Yet every triumph carried undertows, conflicts with producers, the emotional cost of being a comic who lived public laughter while privately wrestling with depression and periods of exile from mainstream projects. After his tumultuous middle years, he found steadier ground on stage and in television, marrying fellow actor Allie Mills, returning to theater, and remaining active in small company work well into his 80s. He died after being struck by vehicles in Venice, California, on February 7, 2020, at 91. His estate was modest by household name standards, often described in public reports as under $1 million. But his true legacy is less financial than rhetorical. An artist who folded his painful past into a relentless appetite for story bravado and reinvention, leaving behind a body of work that testifies to both his vulnerability and his comic gifts. Larry Sellers was 44 when he first portrayed Cloud Dancing on Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in 1993, a role that seared itself into viewers' memories because Sellers brought to the part the bearing of a ceremonial elder and the authenticity of a man rooted in Osage cultural life. On screen, he was quiet, spiritual, and authoritative, the kind of presence that made audiences take notice and that made producers listen when stories about Native representation were raised. Born October 2, 1949, in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, with Osage roots and additional Cherokee and Lakota connections acknowledged by community and obituary, Sellers' childhood was shaped by tribal traditions and the margins of mainstream America. Poverty, the slow erosion of language and ceremony, and the constant work of existing as both Native and American. He served in the U.S. Navy, then turned to film and television, where he repeatedly chose authenticity over career expediency. He worked as a stuntman actor, cultural consultant, language instructor, and ceremonial leader. sometimes refusing roles that simplified or stereotyped his people. Life-changing events included the quiet losses endemic to Native communities kinsfolk claimed by addiction and illness, and the long labor of cultural reclamation that replaced a conventional celebrity ambition. Sellers weathered the emotional toll of watching indigenous traditions erased on screen, even as he used his visibility to teach and preserve. In the years after his major TV work, he returned to the Osage Nation to mentor youth, teach the language, and serve as a ceremonial leader, trading Hollywood anonymity for community stewardship. He died at home in Pawhuska on December 9, 2021 at 72. Material wealth was never the point. His estate was modest, yet Sellers' intangible legacy is immense revived prayers. Students who continue language work and a record of performances that insisted Native characters be treated with dignity rather than cliché, a quiet revolution in representation few headlines captured, but many Indigenous people remember and honor. Nick Ramus was 64 when he played Chief Black Kettle on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman in 1993, and his screen persona, reserved, dignified, and often sorrowful, gave the series a moral center when Native perspectives intersected with frontier conflict. His performance felt lived in because Ramus carried decades of hard-won identity into every line. Born September 9, 1929, in Seattle, Washington, of Blackfoot heritage, and raised for stretches on the Blackfeet Reservation in Montana, he navigated childhoods both tribal and urban, earning a chemistry degree before a restless curiosity led him to boxing, motorcycle racing, and ultimately acting an unconventional apprenticeship that braided physical courage with a deep interest in storytelling. Major turning points included his transition from regional life to Hollywood character work, the frustration of repeatedly being cast into stereotypes, even while he sought roles that honored Indigenous complexity, and a late-life health crisis, pneumonia, in January 2007, revealed a lung neoplasm. He opted against invasive surgery that might have prolonged life at great cost to quality. Ramus responded to setbacks by creating his own stage work. His one-man show, An Evening with Sitting Bull, distilled history and personal reflection into an act of reclamation, while his steady television and film appearances broadened the visibility of Native actors in mainstream media. He died in Benson, Arizona on May 30, 2007 at 77 of complications related to pneumonia and lung disease. Financially, his estate was modest, but culturally he left a trove of performances and a blueprint for dignity in roles often written. Without it, his legacy survives in a filmography that spans westerns and contemporary dramas, in student actors he mentored, and in a small but durable archive of work that insists Native lives belong at the center of American stories. Jorgan Johnson was 67 when she assumed the role of Elizabeth Quinn in 1993, portraying the matriarchal figure of the Quinn family with quiet dignity, intelligence, and emotional depth that anchored the series. Elizabeth was the stabilizing presence amid frontier hardships, embodying a subtle but unshakable moral compass that guided her children and the community while conveying warmth and restraint that made her a favorite among viewers. Yet off-screen, Jorgan's life was marked by hidden struggles and resilience forged in adversity. Born August 15, 1926, in Decorah, Iowa, into a conservative Norwegian-American household, she endured an emotionally muted upbringing where high expectations and rigid moral codes left little space for self-expression or error. Her early exposure to theater through her father, a plumbing contractor and amateur actor, provided solace and escape, but it did not shield her from the economic and social pressures of the Great Depression. Her first marriage to Stanley Prager ended tragically, compounded by his blacklisting during the McCarthy era forcing Jorgen into a precarious financial and professional situation while raising children in a climate of fear and surveillance. Later, her marriage to civil rights activist Jack Tenner brought intellectual companionship and a shared commitment to social justice, yet balancing activism family and a demanding acting career required constant personal sacrifice. Professionally, Johnson faced continual typecasting and subtle misogyny within Hollywood, often relegated to maternal roles, despite her expansive range. She became a mentor to younger actors, quietly advocating for progressive storytelling and representation while navigating personal losses, including the death of her first husband and enduring health challenges in later years. Johnson's work ethic and resilience allowed her to remain active in television and stage productions well into her 70s, reflecting a life dedicated to craft despite repeated adversity. She passed away on June 4, 2018 in Los Angeles at age 91, leaving a modest estate and a legacy measured less by wealth than by her enduring impact on the portrayal of women of strength and moral authority. Her life behind the camera was a testament to perseverance, nuanced intelligence, and the often unseen labor of sustaining both family and artistry in a world that frequently undervalued both. Johnny Cash was 61 when he appeared as Kid Cole in 1993, bringing an intense authenticity to the gunslinger whose hardened exterior concealed vulnerability, illness, and a troubled past. Cash infused Kid Cole with an air of weary gravitas, the haunted eyes of a man weighed down by history and personal failings, making him a character whose quiet strength and occasional moral compromise resonated profoundly with audiences. Born February 26, 1932 in Kingsland, Arkansas, Cash grew up amid the grinding poverty of the Great Depression, the loss of his brother Jack in a sawmill accident when Johnny was only 12, leaving permanent psychological scars. These early experiences fostered a mixture of resilience and self-destructive tendencies that would haunt him throughout life. He rose rapidly in the country music world, but faced decades of addiction, legal troubles, and the emotional strain of public scrutiny, culminating in multiple near-fatal overdoses. Despite fame, he struggled with his health, self-esteem, and interpersonal relationships, often oscillating between the solace of music and the despair of personal failure. Cash's collaboration with June Carter helped stabilize him, but the toll of addiction and relentless touring left deep emotional and physical marks, making each performance a delicate negotiation of endurance and vulnerability. On Dr. Quinn, Cash's improvisations, storytelling, and raw energy translated personal history into performance, creating a character layered with authenticity that few actors could achieve. The late 1990s found him navigating chronic pain, multiple surgeries, and the compounded grief of June's death just months before his own. Cash died on September 12, 2003 at 71 in Nashville, leaving a vast estate estimated at $60 million alongside an enduring cultural imprint that extends far beyond his wealth, 90-plus albums, countless collaborations, and a mythic presence in American music and television. June Carter Cash was 64 when she portrayed Sister Ruth in 1993, a role that allowed her to channel decades of personal experience into a character defined by moral conviction, spiritual intensity, and compassionate authority. Sister Ruth served as a moral anchor in the series, embodying ethical clarity, while balancing the vulnerabilities inherent in a frontier community, and audiences were captivated by the authenticity and emotional richness June brought to the screen. Born June 23, 1929, in Maces Spring, Virginia, into the first family of country music, she was immersed from birth in a world of performance, constant touring, and the pressures of maintaining a legacy. Her childhood was marked by the instability of life on the road, exposure to substance use among adults, and the emotional toll of parental absences, forcing her to develop resilience, a keen sense of observation, and a capacity to navigate adult responsibilities at an early age. June endured 3 marriages, the first 2 ending in heartbreak, and her third, to Johnny Cash, was both a stabilizing force and a source of constant emotional turbulence as she contended with his substance abuse, legal troubles, and health crises while maintaining her own career. Professionally, June faced the challenge of being recognized in her own right, beyond the shadow of her family name, and her husband's fame navigating the entertainment industry with intelligence, musical talent, and an often unspoken strategic awareness. She poured these experiences into her work on Dr. Quinn, imbuing Sister Ruth with depth, vulnerability, and wisdom that reflected a lifetime of triumph, loss, and perseverance. June died on May 15, 2003 at 73 in Nashville, just months before Johnny, leaving an estate valued at approximately $5 million. Yet, her true wealth lay in her cultural contributions, 5 Grammy Awards, landmark songwriting mentorship to younger artists, and a living legacy within country music. Richard Mall was 51 when he appeared in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in 1994 as John, a brooding, enigmatic drifter whose arrival in Colorado Springs during the Halloween episode immediately cast a shadow over the town's festive celebrations. Towering at 6'8" and possessing a resonant, cavernous voice, Mall's screen presence was both menacing and strangely compelling, an image that contrasted sharply with his private, introspective nature. Born January 13, 1943, in Pasadena, California, to a nurse and a lawyer, Mall experienced an isolated childhood exacerbated by his rapid physical growth, already 6 feet tall by age 12, leading to relentless teasing and a profound sense of social alienation. Seeking refuge in literature and theater, he found solace in Shakespearean performance at UC Berkeley, where he could inhabit characters more comfortable with his own body and voice than he was. Despite a career-defining role as Bull Shannon on Night Court, Mall's personal life was turbulent. 2 divorces and estrangement from his children were compounded by bouts of severe depression, which he masked behind his humor and public persona. Career pressures intensified these struggles. He was often typecast due to his size and voice-limiting opportunities, and fueling frustration. After retiring in 2018, he retreated to Big Bear Lake, California, where he embraced solitude, birdwatching, and woodworking, finding a quiet sanctuary far from Hollywood's glare. Mall died on October 26, 2023 at age 80. His estate, estimated at $20 million, included California properties and residuals from decades of television, film, and voice work. Mall's legacy is a compelling paradox, a man whose intimidating screen image concealed vulnerability and intelligence, whose voice and physicality entertained millions, yet whose inner life remained largely invisible, leaving a haunting impression of complexity behind his memorable performances. His story is one of fame, interwoven with isolation, triumph, shadowed by personal turmoil, and the quiet reclamation of life outside the spotlight. Pamela Koch was 65 when she appeared in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in 1993 as Martha, a sharp-tongued, no-nonsense townswoman whose strength and stubbornness concealed a hidden tenderness, making her both feared and respected by the residents of Colorado Springs. Born October 1, 1928 in Crayford, Kent, England, Koch was the youngest of 6 children in a working-class family that demanded practicality over dreams. Her childhood was defined by struggle and deprivation. Denied the opportunity to attend RADA, she endured secretarial work she despised while secretly cultivating her passion for performance. Emigrating to the United States in 1960, she faced typecasting, repeated rejections, and the relentless challenge of establishing herself in television and theater. which left emotional scars that mirrored her on-screen character's resilience. Kosh's life was punctuated by profound personal and professional upheavals. The demolition of her cherished Golden Mall Playhouse in 1981 eliminated a venue where she nurtured countless actors, a symbolic death of her creative sanctuary. Her marriage to actor Walt Gilmore endured, but was marked by financial constraint and periods of emotional distance. Professionally, she was known for her meticulousness and occasional clashes with directors over creative control, reflecting a perfectionism born of early hardship. Kosh remained fiercely independent, channeling personal pain into her craft, portraying women whose toughness concealed vulnerability and whose authority commanded respect. She died on May 4, 2022 at age 93, leaving a modest estate yet an outsized cultural impact. Her legacy lies not in material wealth, but in the depth and consistency of her performances, her quiet mentorship, and her role in challenging norms for women in theater and television, creating a blueprint of resilience, determination, and creative longevity that endures beyond her on-screen presence. Stacy Keach Sr. was 82 when he appeared as Judge Webster on Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman in 1996, embodying a character whose gravitas, authority, and measured judgment mirrored the weight of a life spent navigating both Hollywood's golden age and its hidden ruthless machinations. Born May 29, 1914 in Chicago, Illinois, Keach Sr. grew up during a period marked by economic hardship and parental pressure that prized discipline over creativity, experiences that instilled both resilience and a subtle insecurity he carried into adulthood. Early in his career, he struggled with limited recognition despite talent often eclipsed by peers, and later by his own son, Stacy Keach Jr., whose rapid rise to stardom in theater and film highlighted the generational tension between paternal pride and professional envy. Keach Sr. His personal life was complex. He maintained a long marriage to Mary Kane Peckham, enduring the strains of raising two sons in a volatile industry while quietly contending with missed opportunities and the frustrations of being typecast. Professionally, he alternated between acting, directing, and talent scouting, though his work often went uncredited and recognition remained elusive. His later years were spent mentoring younger actors and guiding his sons, passing on skills and values that were as impactful as any public accolade. He died of congestive heart failure on February 13, 2003, at age 88 in Burbank, California, leaving an estate comprised of family homes and personal assets, with a legacy that transcends monetary value. Keach Sr.'s life represents the invisible labor behind the entertainment industry, the shaping of talent, the sustaining of craft, and the quiet endurance of personal sacrifices. His contribution lies not only in the roles he played, but in the influence he imparted, leaving a nuanced legacy of mentorship, perseverance, and the unglamorous realities of sustaining a career in Hollywood across decades. George Firth was 60 when he appeared in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman in 1993 as Jedediah Bancroft, a character whose pedantic bureaucratic exterior belied subtle moral ambiguity and quietly comic desperation. On-screen, Firth embodied the meek, hesitant man whose nervous gestures and precise diction made him both laughable and strangely sympathetic, leaving audiences charmed yet unsettled by the contradictions he portrayed. Behind the spectacles and hesitant smiles, however, lay a life of concealed complexities. Born George Schweinfurth on December 14, 1932, in Chicago, Illinois, to German and Irish parents, he grew up in a rigid Christian Science household where emotional expression was discouraged, fostering a lifelong tendency to internalize and compartmentalize feelings. Early exposure to strict moral codes and the weight of cultural expectation left Firth with a duality that would define both his personal and professional life, a man capable of tender insight, yet persistently anxious and self-critical. His career trajectory was equally paradoxical. He earned acclaim as a Tony-nominated librettist, collaborating with Stephen Sondheim on landmark musicals like Company. Yet he struggled to find stability in Hollywood, often typecast as the ineffectual, nervous intellectual. Personal tragedy punctuated his professional disappointments, including the catastrophic flop of Merrily We Roll Along, which left him emotionally hollow and wary of creative risk. Firth's private life was shrouded in secrecy. His long-term homosexuality remained largely unspoken due to the era's social constraints, and he endured loneliness and estrangement despite critical acclaim. In his later years, he retreated from public life, focusing on small-scale musical projects and literary pursuits, never fully reclaiming the acclaim of his Broadway heyday. He died on August 11, 2008, in Santa Monica, California, at age 75, leaving an estate valued under $1 million. Yet his enduring legacy resonates in the subtext of his role's characters, who, like Firth himself, harbored unseen depths, anxieties, and moral complexity beneath an ostensibly ordinary exterior, leaving audiences with a haunting sense of humanity rarely articulated on screen. Dennis Lipscomb was 52 when he portrayed President Ulysses S. Grant in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in 1994, bringing a stoic gravitas and quiet authority that contrasted sharply with the more whimsical characters of the series. On screen, he exuded the disciplined dignity of a historical figure, while imbuing Grant with a subtle humanity that captured both respect and melancholy, anchoring the narrative in realism. Born March 1, 1942 in Westbury, New York, to a strict Army general, Father Lipscomb's childhood was marked by rigid discipline, emotional distance, and the constant weight of expectation, which cultivated both resilience and a propensity for internalized anxiety. He initially pursued engineering, earning a degree from Clarkson University, but eventually abandoned a conventional career path to embrace acting, an unconventional choice that alienated him from his family and forced him to navigate Hollywood's cutthroat environment largely alone. His career was punctuated by minor triumphs in television and film, but shadowed by relentless professional frustration, often being overlooked for leading roles despite evident talent. Personal tragedies compounded these challenges. The chronic illness of his wife Pat in the late 1990s forced him into financial and emotional strain, leading to withdrawal from higher-profile projects. Lipscomb struggled privately with depression and self-doubt, and his later career was characterized by sporadic appearances and a retreat from Hollywood's spotlight. He died quietly on July 30, 2014, in Los Angeles at age 72, the circumstances of his passing undisclosed, leaving a net worth under $500,000. Yet his performances, particularly as figures of quiet strength and unspoken torment, continue to resonate with audiences, embodying the cost of personal and professional perseverance and offering a nuanced study of resilience under persistent pressure, leaving a legacy of subtle gravitas rarely matched in his era. Edward Albert was 42 when he appeared in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in 1993 as Dr. William Burke, a role that mirrored his off-screen persona, intelligent, charismatic, yet quietly burdened by inner turmoil. On screen, Albert radiated both authority and vulnerability, portraying a physician whose competence was tempered by empathy and the lingering shadows of personal doubt, captivating viewers with his nuanced, understated performance. Born Edward Lawrence Albert on February 20, 1951, in Los Angeles, California, he was the son of Hollywood legend Eddie Albert and Mexican actress Margot, growing up amidst fame, expectation, and the weight of parental legacy. While privileged in terms of connections and exposure to the arts, his upbringing was fraught with pressure, complicated by his father's towering presence and the tragic death of his mother in 1985, which left a deep emotional scar. Albert's early career flourished, with a Golden Globe-winning role in Butterflies Are Free, 1972. Yet the transience of fame, combined with failed relationships and ongoing struggles with self-worth, shadowed his professional path. Diagnosed with lung cancer in 2005, Albert spent his remaining years actively advocating for environmental causes and Native American rights, demonstrating a capacity to channel personal adversity into meaningful public work. He passed away on September 22, 2006, at age 55, just over a year after his father's death, leaving an estate including Malibu property and moderate royalties with a net worth estimated at $2 million. His enduring legacy lies not only in his film and television work, but also in his activism and commitment to social causes, illustrating a life that navigated the glare of Hollywood personal tragedy and public responsibility, leaving a portrait of resilience, empathy, and unspoken complexity that continues to inspire reflection on the human dimensions behind celebrity. Gregory Sierra was 57 when he appeared as Jenner Eli Parker in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman in 1994, a role that demanded the quiet authority and inner conflict of a man navigating multiple cultural identities. On screen, Sierra's presence exuded a calm intensity, a stoic figure whose gaze hinted at profound sorrow and unspoken struggles, making him one of the series' most memorable recurring characters. Born January 25, 1937, in Manhattan's Spanish Harlem, Sierra was of Puerto Rican descent and spent much of his childhood under the care of an aunt after being abandoned by his parents, experiencing poverty, systemic discrimination, and constant exposure to neighborhood violence. These formative years left emotional scars and a deep awareness of societal inequities, shaping the intensity he later brought to his roles. Tragedy struck early in adulthood when his second wife, Susan Pollack, died by suicide in 1978, a loss that sent him into profound grief and withdrawal from the public eye. Professionally, he faced the frustration of being typecast in roles emphasizing ethnic stereotypes, yet he consistently sought complex, morally ambiguous characters, channeling personal pain into performances on shows like Barney Miller and All in the Family, where his portrayals were emotionally resonant and socially significant. Despite ongoing health challenges, including cancer in his later years, Sierra's career endured, punctuated by moments of critical acclaim and quiet influence within the industry. He died on January 4, 2021 from stomach and liver cancer at age 83. His net worth was approximately $2 million, but his lasting legacy resides in the nuanced, barrier-breaking performances that gave visibility to Latino actors and explored the depths of human resilience. Behind the credits and acclaim, Sierra's life was a testament to survival, emotional complexity, and the courage to infuse authenticity into every role, leaving an indelible mark on television history. Nicholas Pryor was 59 when he took on the role of Senor George Stewart in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman in 1994, bringing a measured gravitas and understated power to a character representing political influence and moral tension. On-screen, Pryor conveyed authority with subtlety, embodying the tensions and compromises inherent in positions of leadership, while imbuing the character with vulnerability that resonated with audiences. Born January 28, 1935, in Baltimore, Maryland as Nicholas David Probst, he hailed from a well-off family, yet his childhood was shadowed by emotional distance, high expectations, and a struggle to assert personal identity within rigid familial structures. These experiences contributed to an adult life characterized by introspection and a career navigating supporting roles in over 170 productions, where he often portrayed figures of quiet control or understated menace, such as in Risky Business and Less Than Zero. Despite professional consistency, Pryor faced personal challenges, including multiple failed marriages, strained relationships with family, and a prolonged battle with cancer that culminated in his death on October 7, 2024, at age 89. His estate was modest, yet his cultural impact, though subtle, was profound. Pryor's performances shaped the emotional textures of numerous films and television shows, often serving as the stabilizing, reflective presence amidst chaotic narratives. Off-screen, he was known for a quiet generosity and mentorship of younger actors, revealing a life dedicated to craft and principle, even while grappling with private sorrow. Pryor's legacy remains in the understated, resonant portrayals that left viewers with lingering impressions, proof that influence need not be loud to endure, and his untold story speaks to the sacrifices and emotional labor behind a lifetime of disciplined artistry. Though time has passed, the laughter they gave us still echoes. The cast of Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman brought joy to millions, and even though some of them are no longer with us, their performances live on. As we remember those we've lost, we also celebrate the legacy they left behind, one that continues to entertain and connect generations. Thank you for joining us in honoring these unforgettable stars. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tributes to the legends of television history.